This is the safest place in the solar system. But this planet might literally crush you with its gravity. In this video, I am gonna be ranking planets based on how deadly they are. We will start our way from the least dangerous and build up all the way to the absolute monsters of our solar system. And here's the twist. One of these planets could actually be our future home. But if we set foot there now, you are not ready for what will happen next. And before we start, look, not all planets are deadly in the same way. Some burn, some freeze, some crush, and some makes us suffer taxes like Earth. And well, there's not much we could do about any of them. So after researching on this for a whole day, which basically makes me an expert, right? Here's how I'm ranking them. How badly you'd get destroyed just by being there. How many factors are teaming up to obliterate you? How long you'd survive? Let's be honest, not for long. How supportable is the planet for life? And finally, how cool does it sound? And yeah, that one is totally subjective, but you understand the point. Number 10, Earth, which honestly I could also rank as number 1, based on how much some of you suffer here. But let's be real, Earth is our home. Not just ours actually, it is home to millions of species, evolving and adapting across billions of years. And out of everything we have ever studied, it's the only planet where life as we know it actually exists. Earth is the third planet from the Sun, and it sits right in the Goldilocks zone, meaning the temperature is just right for life to thrive. It's got ample water sources, a stable magnetic field, and a thick, breathable atmosphere. Excluding the pollution, of course. Fun fact, Earth is also the densest planet in the entire solar system. Yeah, it's got earthquakes, tsunamis, wars, bad Wi-Fi's, and let's not forget, traffic. But compared to what's next on the list, Earth is basically easy mode. So if you're healthy, you would likely survive up to 100 years. Especially if you're a Japanese. Deadliness rating 1 out of 10. Number 9, Mars. Mars is number 9 on the list. And it's no shock as humans envision to colonize Mars in the near future. Especially Elon Musk, if he wraps up with his pseudo-political career first. But hype aside, let's talk about just how deadly is our future home right now. See, I have placed Mars just above Earth because out of all the planets, it's got the most potential of life. Mars is the 4th planet from the Sun, sitting just at the outer edge of the habitable zone. During the day, the average temperature on Mars is around 20 degrees Celsius, which is kinda nice. But here's the catch. Since Mars's atmosphere is just 1% as thick as Earth's, it can't trap heat at all. So when the night falls, the temperature crashes to a negative 153 degrees Celsius. That's barely manageable by even the NASA's best spacesuit. The Martian atmosphere is extremely thin and made up mostly of carbon dioxide, which makes it unbreathable. Another serious challenge on Mars is its incredibly low atmospheric pressure. You know, Mars is called the red planet, and that's because its surface is literally covered in iron oxide. Kinda rough. And to make things worse, Mars is full of regular Martian dust storms, like huge ones. They can cover even the whole planet, blocking sunlight for days and mess with solar panels and visibility. These rusty dust particles can easily wear down any equipment we dare to use on Mars. Over time, they get into everything: joints, seals, electronics, and slowly start to break things apart. It's like Mars is constantly trying to sandpaper our tech to death. So yeah, without a spacesuit on Mars, you'd be gasping, boiling, and get unconscious in 15 seconds. And dead within a max 2 minutes. Brutal? Absolutely. But here's the wild part. Compared to the rest of the solar system, that's practically a luxury. In fact, some scientists believe Mars might have had life millions of years ago. There's frozen water in its polar regions, and a strong sign of an ancient, now extinct ocean. All of which suggest Mars was once far more alive than it looks today. So yeah, while it's cold, airless and dangerous, the possibility of ancient life and frozen water helps Mars on the deadliness rankings. Because compared to most planets, Mars is deadly, but not hopeless. Deadliness rating 3 out of 10. Number 6.5 Pluto. At first, I wasn't even planning to put Pluto on the list, but then I thought, hey, if the scientists can demote it from planetary status, at least I can keep it alive by ranking it on my death list. Because let's be honest, Pluto is kind of a mess. Its orbit looks like it was drawn by a drunk satellite. Like, what even is this? If you ever made the bold and slightly unhinged decision to visit Pluto, it's gonna take you astronomically long. Pluto lies in the Kuiper's belt, which is basically the solar system's junkyard, full of icy debris, dwarf planets, and chaotic leftovers from planet formation. You're not just dealing with time, you're dodging frozen missiles the whole way. Pluto is literally the freezer of the solar system. The average surface temperature around negative 240 degrees Celsius. That's just a few degrees above absolute zero. No suit, instant frostbite, frozen lungs, and game over. And just like its luck, Pluto's atmosphere is also frozen. Yeah, Pluto's air is made up of nitrogen and methane, and both literally freeze during the night. Imagine the atmosphere freezing and just giving up to the ground. Now that's a whole new level of dead. With no magnetic shield, Pluto gets bombarded by cosmic rays and solar radiation, if it reaches that far sometimes. Just like Mars, it lacks oxygen, and a condition known as ebulism will be after you. So basically, ebulism is the boiling of your body fluids, like blood, at normal body temperature when exposed to very low atmospheric pressure, such as in space, where there is no air to balance your internal body pressure. And since Pluto is so far, rescue or communication would take hours. You're basically on your own. It's the most cut off place you could ever be. You should not have planned a trip here, but still, better than Ohio. Despite being frozen, Pluto has nitrogen glaciers, ice volcanoes, and strange geological activity. So yeah, Pluto is deadly, but it's also kinda sad and lonely. Plus no one really cares about it anymore. Sure, you would freeze, suffocate, and maybe get radiation cooked from the cosmic rays. But with our NASA grade space gear, you could actually survive for a few minutes before you die of hypothermia and before your oxygen freezes. So compared to the true monsters of our solar system, Pluto is more of a cold exile than an instant death trap. Deadliness rating 5 out of 10. Now from the farthest planet, dwarf planet, let's head all the way in to the planet closest to the Sun. Number 6. Mercury. Now from here, things are gonna get interesting. Or maybe just hotter. Since Mercury is the closest planet to the Sun, you might think, oh, it's definitely the hottest one, right? Nope. Even though Mercury gets scorched during the day with over a temperature of 430 degrees Celsius, but it can't hold on to that heat because it has no atmosphere. Therefore, heat comes and gets reflected rather than being absorbed. And when the night hits, the temperature drops faster than your grades in high school, reaching negative 180 degrees Celsius. But why no atmosphere on Mercury? Mercury is very small. In fact, it is the smallest real planet in the solar system. Thus, it has very low gravity. Low gravity equals can't hold gases, equals no air, equals no pressure. Now, what happens with no pressure? That's right, ebulism. Your body fluids start to boil at regular temperature. And that's just the start of your problems. No atmosphere means no protection from solar radiation. Adds to that no magnetic field equals solar radiation party. And you are the snack. Also, your cells are slowly developing cancer, destroying your DNA and your genetic information. Meanwhile, your skin, cracking and peeling, and your brain is just floating in a microwave soup. You are basically cooked. So let's very well take you on that night side. On the night side, temperature would be very, very cold. So cold, Even your NASA spacesuit won't help. You would slowly and painfully die to hypothermia and cancer. So depending on where you would land, you are either getting crispy fried or cryogenically frozen. But since we are here to survive, and not for a picnic, which you must have realized till now, our best bet? The Terminator line. The narrow twilight zone between the night and the day. Not too hot, not too cold. It would be pretty stable because Mercury takes a long 59 Earthian days to rotate on its own axis. But still, not saving you from being radiation bombarded, your blood being boiled, or from unpredictable solar flares. NASA suits can keep you alive for a few hours on the Terminator line, but without a pressurized base or a lander, you are doomed. Deadness rating 6 out of 10. So far, we have dealt only with rocky planets. So now let's shift our focus to the gaseous giants, at least for some time. Number 5. Uranus. Uranus? sorry.
Uranus. Uranus. Uranus.
Rather than having a rocky hard surface, Uranus is actually just a big mushy ball of icy gas. Since it's a gaseous giant, it is mostly composed of gases and have no solid surface. Uranus, despite not being farthest from the Sun, is actually the coldest planet in the solar system, -224 degrees Celsius. That's colder than Thomas Shelby. Uranus doesn't even try to keep you warm, because unlike other gaseous giants, it almost gives no internal heat. The upper light blue layer is topped off with a thick gaseous atmosphere, composed of hydrogen, helium and methane. And that's very suffocating. And the deeper you fall, the worse it gets. Colder, darker, denser. And beneath that serene blue layer, violent 900 km per hour winds, turbulences, and clouds of toxic ammonia and hydrogen sulfide. At 1000 kilometers below the cloud's top, the pressure is over 100 times Earth's. Even a NASA suit would collapse eventually. Blood vessel would rupture, lungs implode, muscles give in. The lower layers, surrounded by icy fluids, mostly water, ammonia and methane ices. Radiation isn't as bad as some other gaseous giants, but you are still soaking up cosmic particles. Well, this cool looking blue planet might seem depressing and boring, but there's one reason I have ranked it above Mercury. Uranus stinks. Literally, if dying from no oxygen, extreme cold, crushing pressure, and flash level winds wasn't enough, then get this. Uranus smells like rotten eggs. Why? Because deep in its atmosphere, there's hydrogen sulfide, the same gas that makes fart smells bad. So while you are freezing, falling, and being squashed into a pancake, your last breath would smell like a cosmic toilet. Now that's real suffering. Deadness rating 7 out of 10. Number 4. Saturn. Saturn, which is by far my personal favorite and the prettiest planet in the solar system, looks like a cosmic masterpiece hanging in space. It's got visible rings, a stunning golden hue. But don't let the aesthetics fool you. Behind all that beauty is a planet that's ready to kill you in 6 different ways. Let's talk about these iconic rings. They look elegant, light, and almost harmless. But in reality, Saturn's rings are composed of icy chunks, rock fragments, dust particles. Some are as small as a grain of sand, while some are the size of houses, all of them moving at up to 48,000 kilometers per hour. Even the tiniest of grain is enough to puncture your spacecraft and rip through your skull. Saturn is composed mainly of hydrogen and helium, and is the second largest planet. Saturn has every layer, from the coldest to the hottest, with winds rushing up to 18,000 kilometers per hour, challenging even the speed of sound. You think Earth's weather is bad? Try Saturn's hexagon storm at its north pole. It's a massive, persistent cloud vortex, just like a super speedy hurricane, shaped like a perfect hexagon, nearly 30,000 kilometers wide. and it's been spinning for over some 40 years. Unlike Earth, Saturn has a ton of moons, over 170. But still, I have deducted some points for sure because of two main reasons. Firstly, Saturn is a gas giant. You'd just fall into layers of gas and get crushed slowly by immense pressure, and death would be in installments. Second, while it's deadly, it's not unique in the ways how it kills you. Also, some of Saturn's moon, like Enceladus and Titan, are actually potential contenders for hosting life, and scientists are genuinely exploring that possibility. And here's a funny fact. Since Saturn is made mostly of gas, it's actually the least dense planet in our solar system. Like it's so low in density that if you somehow put it in water, it would literally float like a balloon. Deadness rating 8 out of 10. Number 3. Neptune. Neptune is technically the twin of Uranus, but darker and more violent. From the outside, Neptune looks majestic, deep blue, mysterious, almost soothing. Don't be fooled. It is literally the windiest planet in the solar system. Winds reach up to a shocking 2,100 kilometers, faster than your ability to scream help. That's literally supersonic. Like Uranus, it has no solid surface, just endless gas and ice. Even though it is the farthest planet from the Sun, it is not the coldest. Temperature hover around negative 220 degrees Celsius, and sunlight barely even reaches there. Apart from this, Neptune is very dense. In fact, it is the densest of all four gaseous giants. And yeah, death here seems just like Uranus, but way more brutal. And if you wonder why Neptune is so blue, that's not because of water. It's because of a unique composition of dense methane, hydrogen, and helium in its atmosphere. So blue that rather than Earth, I think Neptune should be called the blue planet. But Neptune's real X factor is its diamond rain. Yes, you heard it right. We are talking actual, solid, high-speed diamonds falling through the sky at extravagant speed. Here's how that madness happens. Neptune's atmosphere is packed with methane. Deep inside, the pressure is millions of times stronger than the Earth's surface. That pressure rips apart methane molecules, separating the carbon. And then the carbon atoms crystallize into diamonds. These diamonds literally fall through the atmosphere like sparkly death hail. So if the freezing temperature, the 2100 km/h winds, and the crushing pressure weren't enough, Neptune adds a final layer of pain. You get destroyed while being punched by literally the hardest substance in existence. Deadness rating 9 out of 10. And at number 2, Jupiter. And here's the largest planet in our solar system. So large that it is often considered as a failed star. Surface? Haha, no. Jupiter does not have a solid surface. It is a gas giant. But say you fall into Jupiter. Welcome to the most violent descent possible. Jupiter is known to be the most difficult planet to land on. It is also the most radioactive planet in our solar system. Even if you are 300,000 kilometers away from it, the radiation is already trying to penetrate your skin. But no worries, we'll throw in the best NASA grade spacesuit, which, let's be honest, is basically a very expensive jacket delaying your funeral. Now, the first thing you would see as approaching Jupiter are those stunning stripes and bands across its surface. Beautiful, hyptonic, but deadly. Because what you are seeing are actually massive jet streams and storms. Some traveling at 1000 plus kilometers per hour. And that giant red spot? Yeah, it's not some cosmetic. It's actually a storm. A giant, angry, spinning storm that's been raging for over 350 years. Like it's older than most countries. And it's so big, it could fit 3 Earths inside. Winds here blow at 430 kilometers per hour. That's faster than a speeding bullet train. Reaching Jupiter? First you pass through clouds made up of ammonia. Not great, smells like a pungent cleaning fluid. Then comes the crushing pressure. It increases so fast that even steel would implode like a soda can in seconds. Now Jupiter is huge, like 318 times heavier than Earth. Its gravity is 2.5 times stronger. That gravity combined with pressure would be just sufficient to instantly crush your soul. If you go beyond the deepest explore point of Jupiter, you would encounter hydrogen, but not in gaseous state, but an actual ocean of metallic liquid hydrogen. And you are not even near the core yet. Meanwhile, your electronics getting zapped by Jupiter's magnetic field, the strongest in the entire solar system. It's like impossible to survive. And even if that's not enough, there are also violent lightning storms throughout. But wait, why is Jupiter not number 1 on the death list then? Well, here's the thing. Just like Saturn, Jupiter has no solid surface, so there's no exact moment when the planet destroys you. It just slowly unbuilds you. Plus, just like Saturn, some of Jupiter's moons are strong contender for life, especially Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. And of course, Jupiter's massive gravity acts like a shield for the Earth and the rest of the inner planets. It pulls in or deflects many falling asteroids and comets from the asteroid belt, which could otherwise crash into the inner planets like Earth. That's why the scientists often call it the cosmic bodyguard of the solar system. So yeah, Jupiter is terrifying, but also kinda noble. Why I'm using the oxymoron here. Which is why it gets the number 2 spot. The illness rating 9.5 out of 10. And the most deadly planet in the solar system. To make the comeback for the rocky planets. Number 1. Venus. Welcome to hell. Literally. You might think, Venus, the bright and beautiful morning star? Surely, it's not that bad. Haha, no. Venus is actually the devil in disguise. It is literally the hottest and the brightest planet in the solar system. With the surface temperature, yeah, finally we got a surface to work with. Surface temperature above 480 degrees Celsius. Hotter than Mercury, even though it's further from the sun. The reason? Because Venus has the thickest atmosphere of all the rocky planets. And that too, all made up of extreme greenhouse gases. The same gases that keep the earth warm during the night. That 96% CO2 atmosphere traps heat so insanely well, nothing escapes, absorbing most of sun's heat and light, making Venus the ultimate oven. You thought that's it? No. Because of its thick atmosphere, the pressure on the surface is 92 times stronger than Earth's. That's like being a kilometer in the water. That would literally implode you. Just the opposite of evilism. You try to breathe? Good luck. It's all pure poison. So, question of the day. Would a Top Gear NASA spacesuit save you here? Short answer. No. Not even close. Within seconds, the pressure would crush the suit. The temperature would melt your electronics. And yeah, it rains sulfuric acid on Venus. Yes, you heard it right. Literal acid. And yeah, if you want a video on acids, do let me know in the comments. There are also yellow acidic clouds in the atmosphere that make it pretty yellowish hazy. This acid would corrode your suit in seconds. And you are not even safe in a spaceship. Because the pressure plus acid plus the heat combo eats through metal. Yup, Venus would slowly digest your lander like it's a snack. That's why no lander has reached the Venusian surface. X factor? Venus spins backwards. Like what? The sun rises in the west and sets in the east. It's also the slowest spinning planet. A day on Venus is longer than its year. So not only does it kill you, it confuses your sense of time while doing it. Remember when I call Venus a hell? Yeah, I wasn't joking. Because on Venus, you won't find rivers of water. You will find rivers of lava. Oh yes, Venus has volcanoes. A lot of them. In fact, Venus have more volcanoes than any other planet in the solar system. Venus's crazy atmosphere, full of carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and sulfuric acid clouds, is likely the result of the extreme volcanic outgassing. Also, add up to all of this disgust, if you smell Venus, you would feel someone microwaved a dumpster full of rotten eggs, sulfuric acid, and hot sizzling metal and made you inhale it all at 92 times Earth's pressure while cooking you at 475 degrees Celsius. Bonus horror fact: the atmosphere is so corrosive that it would dissolve your lungs and eyes even before you notice the smell. Now that's what I call the deadliest, most brutal planet in the solar system. You won't even survive a few seconds with the top NASA gear. Deadliness rating: absolutely 10 out of 10. Anyways, isn't it a wonder that out of all the planets in this brutal universe, life is here on Earth? Earth just stands out, not because it's perfect, but just because it works. It's got just the right balance for life to grow. And maybe that's the most incredible part. Out of all the chaos in the space, there's this one small place where life got a chance. So make the best out of it. Also, tell me, do you disagree about my rankings or would you change any of the picks? Let's talk in the comments. And finally, peace out.